All right, moving to Superintendent Presentation 3, we have some national STEM competition champions. I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Brennan.
Sure, just to give a little bit of context, we love seeing our students get excited about STEM, whether it's at our launch pads as kindergartners or in STEM specialist classes or electives at middle school and high school. Equally exciting is being inspired by those students when they pursue their passion for STEM on their own. And that's part of what we see here tonight. We are celebrating 3 STEM champions who were recognized by the National STEM Challenge. They are among just 150 students in the United States who were selected to share their projects in Washington, D.C. this April. And I just got a chance to hear a little bit about a couple of them as they were coming in today, and they are just truly inspiring. The projects are judged based on the presenter's persuasiveness and the project's potential positive impact on other people, on their community, and on its innovation and creativity. And so we're just so proud of our 3 STEM champions we're celebrating this evening with how they've represented our Mason Schools community, both our high school and our middle school. So I would like to invite the 3 of you to come to the podium, please. Introduce yourself. Please tell us a little bit about your project and why you chose that area of focus. And then I have a feeling our board may have a few questions for you as well. So why don't we, Laasya, would you like to kick us off here? Thank you.
So hi, I'm Laasya. I'm a junior here at Mason. I've gone to Mason since kindergarten, so I've lived here for most of my life. So yeah, I was a national STEM champion. So my project is called Ceres, and it's basically a method that uses artificial intelligence and machine learning to be able to detect crop diseases using images. So how it works is I basically developed something called a neural network, which kind of replicates how a brain works, but in a computer. So for example, when you see a chair versus a table, you see different features, and you're able to identify what's a chair and what's a table based on the features. So that's what I was trying to replicate, but in a computer and with crop diseases based on the symptoms of different crop diseases. So I basically developed that neural network system, and I put it into a mini computer called a Raspberry Pi, which is super small, like smaller than the size of your hand. And I basically put that in a 3D printed device. So basically a user can take an image using a button on that device, and that image is then sent to the Raspberry Pi where the neural network is, which is able to analyze that and then provide a disease diagnosis right there on the spot. So yeah.
That's amazing.
It's amazing, yes.
Where do we invest in this again?
Grocery store. Sounds delicious.
And maybe we could, Laasya, will you stay up, and then our other students come on up and share your projects as well. And as they're coming up, tell us just briefly, why did you choose this area of research?
Yeah, so my family's actually originally from India. My parents immigrated here in the early 2000s, so we got on a lot of family trips back there. I have family kind of in the villages and the cities. So in the cities, they have a major issue of food insecurity and hunger, and so kind of seeing that is something that I think that always sticks with you, especially coming from suburban Ohio where you don't see a lot of that. And so kind of seeing those images always stuck with me. And then we visited some family a couple weeks later in the villages, and they were telling me about the amount of crop loss that they were having. And I was talking with them, and they were like, we just don't have detection systems for crop diseases. We don't know what diseases we have. We don't even know if we have diseases, so we don't even know what to do. And it's leading to so much crop loss, and kind of making that connection of there's all this loss just miles out from where people are starving on the streets. And that's something that just really, I think, connected with me. And so I thought there's something I can kind of apply my knowledge to.
Thank you. It's powerful.
Very cool.
Okay. Hello, I'm Haasini Mendu, and I'm also a junior at Mason High School. This year I got to participate in the National STEM Challenge, and my project was focused on Parkinson's disease, and it's called TremorSense. So overall, more than 10 million people worldwide are living with Parkinson's disease, and each year approximately 90,000 Americans are newly diagnosed with PD. And Parkinson's disease is a chronic movement disorder, so it affects the coordination of smooth and balanced muscle movement, and a symptom, according to the Mayo Clinic, affects more than 70 to 80% of PD patients is tremors, which is an involuntary muscle contraction and relaxation, which often leads to the twitching of the arms, legs, and jaw, and disrupts daily activities of life from eating dinner to writing one's signature. And currently, symptoms of PD are managed through medications, which are oftentimes based on subjective clinical assessments which fail to capture the fluctuating course of Parkinson's disease. So I sought to create a tremor monitoring system to quantify these tremors in order to improve prescription medication dosages and suppress these tremors. So the monitoring system was based on an accelerometer, which can represent these tremor oscillations, and this was specifically a Arduino Nano BLE 33 Sense encased in a ring-like structure. And then once this data was collected from a patient's hand, it was sent over to a mobile application where it was simultaneously stored, and then this data ran on a classification algorithm trained on a subset of data from the Michael J. Fox Foundation to make a distinction of tremor versus non-tremor movement. And once this was made, a signal was sent to the suppression system, which is based on these coin cell vibration motors, and it essentially works on the concept of a feedback loop. So it applies this principle of haptic feedback, or tries to use distraction in the brain to break an improperly regulated feedback loop to suppress this hand tremor.
That's great. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Samhita Paranthaman, and I'm an 8th grader from Mason Middle School. My project is on utilizing a cost-effective tool to identify harmful algal blooms in a freshwater ecosystem. Over 1 billion people in developing countries don't have access to clean, potable water. Harmful algal blooms can release toxins that can make water unsafe to drink and can pose threats to aquatic life. This is why I wanted to try and find a way to an effective way to identify harmful algal blooms. So I used a Foldscope, which is a paper-based origami microscope, and I used that paper-based origami microscope called the Foldscope to look at samples that I collected from Grand Lake St. Mary's, which is ranked 8th as the most polluted lake in America. I was selected as one of the national STEM champions, and I went to Washington, D.C. to present my project, which was a very fun experience for me because I also got to learn about other projects that other students made. I also got feedbacks from other scientists. So my hope for the future is to spread awareness on this ongoing global crisis, because not many people are educated on the dangers of harmful algal blooms, and to also provide clean drinking water for everyone. Thank you for this opportunity.
So Samhita, you just hit on this, but I was going to ask, so what's next? Because these ideas are way too good to just let die on the vine, right? I imagine that you're not going to just stop. So what is next? So, and all the devices, there are a lot of sensing things. So what is next on exploring how to operationalize them, get them out into the market, finding ways to kind of meet the evidence of the things that you're finding in your sensor, your identification systems, I'll call them that. I am clearly not a STEM champion. But operationalize the fix. Like, what is next then? You identify the disease. How do we get the solution to cure the disease, that sort of thing? So what's next in a nutshell?
So like I said before, I want to work on spreading awareness and also trying to also find ways to control harmful algal blooms, which I have already started working on, and I found 2 ways to control harmful algal blooms.
Is that next year's project?
Sorry?
Is that next year's project, maybe?
I've already started working on that project. So.
Awesome. Fantastic. Thank you.
That's just incredible.
Yeah, for me, this is a little bit of an older project. So this was actually a year or 2 ago. And then the project that I'm currently kind of working on is basically an expansion that's using unmanned aerial vehicles, or basically like a drone system, for widespread early detection of crop diseases. So it's basically able to autonomously fly, capture images and videos, and then process that, kind of similar to how my Ceres device was. But kind of one of the main important things for me is the actual direct implementation. One of my main interests is science and policy and that kind of intersection. So for me, it's really important that my device is actually implementable in the field and it's implementable to farmers. They can actually use it. So that's something that I really want to focus on, kind of deploying that out to farmers. I've worked with a couple already, and they've been able to try it out, and they've been really excited about it. So that's been really exciting.
That's awesome. That's really great.
Well, since my project deals with Parkinson's disease patients, I would ideally want to test with patients and perform some sort of clinical trial to see the use of this and the practicality of the solution itself. And I would definitely want to work on product development itself, so ensuring that the TremorSense device's structure, the wearability of it, is the best it could be to be used by patients in real time.
Fantastic. Thank you.
That's part of me is just like trying to digest the fact that young people your age, many of whom don't even understand or know about Parkinson's disease much at all. Maybe some haven't even heard of it. And you've taken a concept, and just because you're curious, you have delved into that subject and you have researched it. And the really cool piece about all of this is what you're sharing with us tonight and what you're telling your friends in school every day and what you're sharing with your friends outside of this building and maybe some other activities that you have. You are sparking curiosity. You're sparking other young minds to ask questions and contribute to some of these fields. And I think that's one of the reasons why we are able to achieve so many successes today in society at a higher rate than we've ever done before. Sure, technology has a big piece of that, plays a major role in that. But you all, by just getting involved and taking a piece of curiosity and sharing it with others and diving into it and sharing it with other people, you have no idea how many lives that you're going to touch just because you were simply brave enough to tackle the subject. So there's so many people that owe you a big thank you and they don't even know it yet.
So I got lots of questions, and I'm just really, like Connie, just sort of mind blown at you guys' brilliance. Where'd the passion, I mean, you guys are young, and so where'd the passion for this like level of science to connect the existing technology to existing problems to try to solve really tangible, impactful problems in the world? Where did you guys, where'd you pick that up? And then once you answer that one, you've got to have every non-governmental organization, company who wants to try to scale what you guys are doing. How are you managing that? How are you managing people that really want to get in and tell us how, if people want to, if you have ways to get in on your projects or help them grow, tell us how we can do that. So first, where'd you, passion for science? Second, how do we help you grow your projects?
So I feel like I've always just been interested in like coding and robotics. I think my interest was first peaked when I was like 5 or 6 years old, and I remember seeing in a magazine those like EV3 Mindstorm kits that were really popular. And I remember asking my parents, I was like, can I have this? And they were like, only if like you can show commitment to it. So they were like, only if you can buy it yourself. So after like a year of lemonade stands, they finally let me buy it. And so I finally got it. And it was just so interesting to me to be able to put together all these different things and code it. I coded like a snake, an alarm clock. I remember I even coded a pet dog because my parents were like, oh, if you can code a pet dog, we'll get you one, which they didn't get me one. But it was still a really fun experience anyway. So that was just kind of, I think, kind of where that interest in coding and robotics specifically started. My dad's an engineer. My mom's a lawyer, but she's always really pushed for that kind of love in science, and me and my older sister, we both kind of always had that love. So just kind of continuing with it, exploring with it. I think once you discover something you like, it's really easy to just keep going with it. In regards to your second question, I've mostly been working with like professors and farmers and that sort of thing, but National STEM Challenge is actually a great way to connect with some policy and governmental agencies as well, because they had a lot of those people there, like the Environmental Protection Agency, and I've had a lot of people seem really interested in my work, and they're always willing to like support and kind of give me whatever help is needed. So that's been really helpful with, whether it's like collecting data with professors or like testing my device out with farmers, or, trying to actually implement it with, different agencies and universities. It's just been a really rewarding experience to have so many people be willing to support and help and always reach out and be like, hey, if you need anything, I'm here.
Awesome.
For the first question, I would say it was mostly through STEM classes in Mason, because I can remember in 3rd grade working on a project that was with like these tiny little robots, Dot and Dash, and thinking that it was so cool that you could actually make these things move, and you could And it wasn't that hard because I had a teacher who could support me while doing that. So from there, with a variety of STEM classes, I think I became more interested in anatomy. And after that, working with elderly physician, I guess patients in that sense, and seeing Parkinson's disease patients, I wanted to try to at least make some sort of attempt at a solution or monitoring tremors in this case. And that was kind of just me trying to apply things that I've learned, like engineering design principles, and then see what would come out of it. For the second question, the National STEM Challenge has been great for networking, and oftentimes they had a lot of like patent offices in the National Patent Office, and that was really cool to see options for my project. And most of the time I like to message or email professors that are in this field to get more expert like opinions and see what's feasible, what's not, and just get any questions answered. And usually I also really like talking to families of Parkinson's disease patients and trying to understand like if like this concern is real. So like what can you actually add or implement in this solution that I'm creating to make it more accessible or useful for Parkinson's disease patients in real time.
So I feel like I've always had a really big passion in STEM and especially the environment. And I feel like seeing all of these global water crises and also seeing how so many people don't have access to clean drinking water really piqued my interest, I feel like. And to answer your second question, I'm also working on a service project to mainly focused on younger children to help them learn about the Foldscope and how to use it, and also definitely trying to take my project into a larger scale, like trying to implement it in lakes and trying to find ways to control harmful algal blooms.
I had a question for Laasya. I'm trying to recall, have you been to one of our board meetings before?
I don't believe I have, no.
Did-
But I have an older sister.
Okay, that's what it was. Then I was going to say, you had an older was it your older sister that had you might not remember, but I want to say she had a project that dealt with traffic and intersections where the weight of stopped vehicles was like charging traffic lights and things, right?
Yes, yeah.
Am I remembering that? Yes. So that sounds like when you were talking about neural networks and things like that, it was like the light switch went off for me. There's something in the family that, you guys have latched onto this kind of smart city AI power, and I was just going to say, it's really neat to see how you've kind of conceptualized that and made a practical application for it in two very different ways, in two different settings. So that's cool. And I was going to say, your mom must be an excellent lawyer if she has steered you towards the STEM path and science. So kudos to her and to you for that following that passion. Well, I appreciate everything you guys have told us tonight. Just blows my mind, and the answers and things that you've provided to our board are just, show how wise beyond your years you are, and we're so lucky to have you amongst our Comet family, and that we get to see you, see your passions bloom here in Mason, and we are all eager to follow on your journey and watch your next steps as you continue to pursue these projects. So if you want to come down, and we'd love to shake your hand and have a little gift for you.